friends, welcome back. We are here with the wonderful Shannon Simmons. She is our profit first guru inside of the inner circle. Mike, who wrote Profit First, is a friend, and I was like, we need someone inside the inner circle that can teach our members about this incredible formula. And Shannon's been with us for over a year now and is amazing. And our members love her sessions. So Shannon, thank you for jumping on here and sharing with our studio owners a little bit about the great work that you do.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Clint. It's been great to be part of Inner Circle for the last year, and I love to meet with your people. So happy
awesome. So Shannon, why don't you start by telling us a little bit about what do you actually do?
Yeah, what do I actually do? I actually help business owners, specifically in the fitness and wellness world, implement Profit First. I mean, that's really what we do. We take them from one big bank account that isn't working for them, that they don't understand their finances, and baby step over usually 3 months, implementing a system that tells them exactly how to manage their cash, what to do with their cash. And really, like we set up the system, and then they get to tell their money how to work for them so that they can pay themselves. I mean, that's our end goal. So we spend a lot of time one-on-one meeting with clients and just diving into finances and I love to make finances simple and understandable. So I'm also a teacher at heart, and I love to teach people about finances and make it less scary.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think Profit First is such a rewarding formula to teach, right? Because it gets results quickly. And you can see it, even after you teach a class inside of the inner circle, you see the penny just drops, right? And then they start implementing and start putting it into practice. And then they're 3 months in and they're like, oh my goodness, this has changed my relationship with money, how we manage our money. I know exactly what's going on. And I'm not overwhelmed and hating this part of my business, because a lot of people hide, right? Do you find that working with your clients as well, as people go like this and just do their thing, and they're like, if I don't see it, the problem doesn't exist?
Right. Yeah, that's exactly what people do until they figure out that it doesn't have to be difficult and doesn't have to be scary. But yeah, they just avoid it and think, oh, somehow it'll get better. And really rationally, when they sit down with us and they talk, they're like, I know that's not true. It's not really going to get better, but that's all I know to do right now. And so, yeah, they just avoid it a lot.
So what do you do with those, with those people who are scared and overwhelmed by numbers? What's the first thing? What's that conversation like? And I know you've had it multiple times in the IC, but what is that conversation? How do you navigate it with them?
Yeah, one of my first things really is to figure out why do you want your numbers to be different? What do you want from your numbers? Do you want to understand what the numbers mean on your profit and loss statement? We can do that. That usually doesn't help people because it doesn't really tell you what's happening in the business with the actual money. But if that's what you want, let's do that. You want to start paying yourself? You want an emergency fund? Here's the one step. And so we really do just baby step the whole thing, because when you look at a system, I mean, Profit First is wonderful. And like we were talking about earlier, Mike makes it so super simple. And we talk about 5 basic accounts, but honestly, dance studios, we're looking at 7 or 8 accounts. For a lot of people, when I say 5, they kind of get oh, that's a lot. Okay, don't start there. Let's just start with 1. So really, the first thing we do is figure out your goals, because when we can relate it to your goals, what do you want? Then you get hungry for it and you're willing to do the work, even though it might seem overwhelming. And we try really hard not to let it be overwhelming and just give those, one of the benefits of COVID is that you can now open bank accounts on your phone, at almost every single bank. So I literally will be like, hey, let's do it right now. Let's just open that bank account rather than trying to send somebody to a bank in the next week or whatever. So making it really simple.
Yeah, it's nice that the banks have caught up. Excited about that. When you work with new clients, or you're inside the inner circle with a member who hasn't seen Profit First in action or heard about it, what are some of the mistakes that you're seeing people are making in their business before they come to you?
Before they come to me or before they have profit first, or both?
Yeah, both. Like before they have profit first, before they come to you. What are those those patterns that you see frequently with these incredible owners?
Yeah, I mean, it really is the behavioral system that Profit First is built on. Most business owners, myself included, before I knew about Profit First, only had one bank account in their business. And when you only have one bank account, our human design says that we will spend everything in that bank account. It's not your fault. It's not my fault, right? Like, that's just how we're created, that we will spend everything we're given. You know, it's like a big project. If you're given 2 weeks to finish the big project, you'll take 2 weeks. If I give you 2 days, you'll figure out a way to get it done in 2 days. Same thing is true with our money. So that's just how businesses have been told to run, is on this one bank account, and that's all a bank will set up for you. Like, they won't recommend that you have 5 or 7, but that's the mistake. It really is, because we don't think about, we don't look at our bank account balance on our phone. We can do that easy. We don't look at that and say, oh, but you know, $500 of this is for profit and $1,000 of it is my pay. And you know, it says I have $10,000 in there, so I'm going to spend $10,000. I'm not going to think about the fact that $1,000 of that is really sales tax that I've already collected and need to pay somebody. Or, I mean, there's just a whole myriad of things. So just that one bank account is like the downfall of all businesses, unfortunately. So that's the pattern that we really try to change as fast as we can.
Yeah, I love that. And that's a game changer. I was actually on a call with one of our members this morning, Victoria, and she was going to the bank and she had the envelope and she's like, I'm setting up my Profit First accounts today. She was so excited. I loved it. So that's thanks to you that she's going to do that. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun to hear the stories.
Yeah, I'm sure you hear plenty of stories like that, and we hear them, we see them all the time in the inner circle when they're posting. What advice do you have for studio owners that might be in some, that might be concerned about their finances? You know, that COVID has, hit them hard. They're like, I've got a lot of expenses, my rent, the income isn't coming in. Any advice for those people that are concerned at the moment about their finances?
Yeah, I would say first and foremost, get somebody who's not related to your business, but understands the industry that you're in. Whether it's us or another dance studio owner or whatever, having somebody who is not emotionally attached to your business and your people and your expenses and all of that, to be a third eye, if you will, that, like I said, that neutral party, that a lot of times I don't even ask them to say anything or give you any advice, but as the business owner who's in that situation, justify every single one of those expenses that's on your bank statement to that third person. Just going through that exercise yourself will help you see some expenses that you probably don't need. And then if it's truly a third person who, like I said, is not attached to your members, is not attached to your team, your payroll, they'll look at you and they'll say, your payroll is too high, or, and they'll have other ideas. And so I just really encourage people to have a sounding board, really, that person that you can just go to and say, I don't know what to do. And when you start talking, you'll start generating ideas, whether it's ideas for positive revenue and generating more revenue into the business or reducing expenses. But just having that person that you can just kind of pour it all out to and get it all off your chest, because it can be lonely to be a business owner. Like, I get it. I'm there. So you need that person, that confidant person, that confidant that you can share. And if you can get into finances with that person, it'll really help your business.
Yeah, I remember, so good. I love this advice. I remember a couple of months ago, I did a class with Inner Circle members, the Expense Eradicator. And I had members send their P&L statements in, and live on a call, I went through their P&L statements and we went through percentages, and it was exactly that. It was like, your payroll's too high. This is too high. This is too low. Like, this is, your marketing spend is non-existent, but you're paying too much for your team. And we went through, and it was really eye-opening to go through a bunch of members' P&Ls like in front of the group and really like dive in. It's a great exercise.
Yeah. And a lot of times, like I said, if we're just doing it for ourselves in our own head, we'll justify it. We'll be like, oh, but I love Sam. I can't get rid of Sam. Like Sam has a family to feed, and you just blah, 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 all the reasons that you need to keep paying this person.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're justifying it to somebody else who doesn't know that person, it changes. It really just changes. And you're like, okay, but what's best for the longevity of my business? I have to find a way to do something cheaper for what Sam's doing.
Yeah, exactly. I always say like your number one priority as the CEO of your studio is to look after the health of the business. Like that's what's required. And it's crucial. It's so important. You talked a little bit, you mentioned this in a little comment. You said, I want to pay myself. Like if you want to pay yourself, profit first is great. That concept is foreign to a lot of people. And I'm sure you see it a lot working in our space and with our members. What conversation do you have with a studio owner who is, I want to pay myself, I just can't?
Yeah. There's several different ways that we can go about it. And again, it usually comes back to what is your goal as a studio owner? Do you want to work in your business for the rest of the life of your business? Okay. I mean, a lot of people do, and that's great. How much do you need personally to sustain your lifestyle then? Let's start there. Because you're going to work for the rest of your life in your business and you want to make a salary of $50,000. Let's reverse engineer. How much does your business revenue have to be to pay you $50,000? And let's set up the systems that ensure you get that $50,000 every single year and not in a lump sum at the end of the year. How about on payroll with the rest of your team when you pay them? Because that's how you should be paying yourselves. So that's one way we do it. And we have what we call target allocation percentages. So if your business is doing between $0 and $250,000 in real revenue, target, you should be paying yourself 50% of that real revenue. So if you want $50,000, your real revenue should be $100,000. That's really not that difficult, I don't think, to get there. It's difficult to get started, just like anything, right? It's never easy to get started, but once you get there, you get momentum going and it all just starts to kind of roll together and you're like, oh, this is how I do it. Some people will say, I don't want to work in my studio. I would rather have somebody else running my studio. The only way that you can pay somebody else to run your studio is if you are paying yourself what you would be paying somebody else to run your studio. Because right now, if you're not paying yourself, you don't have the money to pay somebody else to run your studio. Mm-hmm. So that's a big eye opener for people who like, they don't want to do everything. Like maybe they're still teaching classes. That's great if you want to keep doing that. But if you don't want to, how are you going to pay somebody else if you're not paying yourself right now for that time? And so really, like I said, it comes down to goals. What do you want to do? What's the first thing that you want to do? You want to get out of teaching classes? Okay, let's start paying you for that so that, 6 months from now, we can transfer that expense to somebody else and you can start doing other revenue generating roles in the business, right? And it just kind of grows from there.
It's so good. Thank you for sharing. As we go into the rest of 2021, what's some advice you have for studio owners? What should they be looking at when it comes to their numbers and their finances?
Yeah, I think you guys are poised for an amazing year, right? Parents cannot wait to get their kids back into activities. But what will happen if you don't have a system set up for how you manage your money is that the expenses will grow right along with the revenue. And you'll be like, oh, I need to hire somebody else. And oh, I need this new system. And oh, I need this new phone. And whatever it is, expenses will start to creep up. So you have to get a system in place right now that ensures as your revenue increases, your expenses don't increase right alongside it and that you get to pay yourself. And before pre-COVID, I was always talking about, I don't know what the natural disaster is that will hit your business that will force you to close for some period of time. But, fires and floods and earthquakes and tornadoes happen all the time. And those are still happening. But now we also have this worldwide shutdown that I can say, remember when that happened? you have to have an emergency fund, because I hope we don't have another COVID, but these other things are still happening, right? Ice storms are still happening,
Right.
and shutting people down. So you have to have that emergency fund. And that's the other big piece of Profit First, is saving for those emergencies. So you have to get the system in place now, though, so that as your revenue increases, you're already in progress with that emergency fund, paying yourself all the benefits of Profit First.
Yes. Oh, such a great system. And guys, Shannon is inside the Inner Circle every month with our Inner Circle members. But Shannon, if our studio owners want more information about your business and how to get in touch with you, where can they go?
Yep. So the name of the business is Fit for Profit, and it's fitforprofit.com. Like 4 is FOR, not the number 4. So that's the easiest way, and lots of information there.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. And guys, don't forget, doors are closing soon for the Inner Circle. So make sure you fill out your application to work with Shannon, as well as our incredible team. Go to dso8.com/inner circle.